Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. But we have 4 notes. 2 related to scheduling, 2 related to recruiting. Let's get into them. The first one came from Rupp Arena on Tuesday night. Yes, there was an event at Rupp Arena. And on a little bit of a down note, it is a little bit serious. So I think anybody who follows kind of the news, what's going on in the world, there's some serious flooding in eastern Kentucky right now. Obviously, it goes without saying. Thoughts and prayers are not enough, but my thoughts and prayers are going out to those in eastern Kentucky. We have a ton of listeners in the state of Kentucky, and Kentucky basketball held a fundraiser to support those in eastern Kentucky. They're actually selling a shirt with proceeds going to eastern Kentucky, so consider, if you can, making that small purchase. But as part of this fundraiser, John Calipari and Kentucky had a few quick announcements. One, they're bringing their blue-white game, which is their inter-squad scrimmage traditionally played at Rupp Arena. They're bringing it to Eastern Kentucky, obviously as a gesture of goodwill for the folks out there. Secondly, on the scoreboard during this event at Rupp Arena on Tuesday night, we got a surprise guest appearance from none other than Mark Few, the head coach of the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Mark Few, I thought, gave a very, very sincere speech. He said, Coach Cal, you and your players are doing God's work. I don't take that lightly. I'm the son of a pastor. But then, on top of everything, we got an announcement that I think if you're a college hoops fan, you can't help but be excited about. We found out that Kentucky and Gonzaga, the ultimate of blue bloods versus the ultimate of new bloods, to use a term that Leonard Hamilton uses for Florida State basketball. New blood versus blue blood. Gonzaga and Kentucky have announced a home-and-home schedule. How about that? November 20th of 2022, Kentucky is going to Gonzaga, and in 2023, Gonzaga will come to Rupp Arena. And so I have a ton of thoughts. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but let me just say this. First of all, before anything, credit to John Calipari and his players for coming up with a way to give back to a community that desperately needs him in Eastern Kentucky. We can talk about the basketball stuff. We can talk about the matchup, but most importantly, what they are doing for their community. And you want to criticize John Calipari for what happens on the court, doesn't win enough games, needs to get to a Final Four. That is fine. I can't ever remember a coach doing more for his local community than John Calipari is, so let's give him and his team credit. And it's not just this year. Go all the way back to his first year where he and Kentucky basketball raised over $1 million for earthquake relief in Haiti. With that said, this is a sports podcast, though, so from the basketball perspective, we just got ourselves one of the marquee games of the college basketball season, one of the marquee games of the opening couple weeks of the college basketball season, with Kentucky going to Gonzaga. First of all, both these teams in my top 10 for this upcoming season, and I could not be more excited about this matchup. Kentucky, for people who do not follow closely, has the most veteran team that they're going to have in a while. Oscar Tshiebwe, the National Player of the Year, is back. Severe Wheeler, who led the SEC in assists, is back. C.J. Frederick, a transfer from Iowa who sat out last year, is back. Plus, Kentucky has its usual assortment of freshmen. Then there's Gonzaga, a roster that I like but I don't love. They, of course, have Drew Timme, the National Player of the Year, coming back, as well as 3 guards that contributed in a big way last year. Rasir Bolton, one of their leading scorers, and 2 guards that are going to have to take a big step up in Nolan Hickman, who ironically was once committed to Kentucky. He is back, as well as Hunter Salas. So, first of all, credit to both these coaches for making it happen. And I think, look, this is going to be a great matchup in the early part of the college basketball season. November 20th, Kentucky flies cross country, and I will say this. This is a mega game for both of these teams in what is a loaded schedule for each of them as well. First of all, for Kentucky, Calipari never really ducks people in the out-of-conference. He hasn't played a ton of true home and homes, which is why I think the fan base was so excited, was because of the idea that it was because of the idea that they're going to get a really marquee game at Rupp Arena in 2023. But you talk about a loaded schedule for John Calipari. Opening night, Champions Classic against Michigan State. At one point, Kentucky will then play Gonzaga at Gonzaga. They'll fly across country. They'll fly to play Gonzaga on November 20th. So they open with Michigan State. Then November 20th, that's Sunday, they play at Gonzaga. Then how about this? Later in early December, they play Michigan in London. This was supposed to be the first ever college basketball game played in London during COVID. COVID canceled it, so it was played this year. And then on top of that, they also play UCLA as part of the CBS Sports Classic. They play Louisville on the road, and they play Kansas at home as part of the Big 10 SEC challenge, Big 12 SEC challenge. So just listen to that schedule before you get to the SEC with Auburn and Arkansas and Tennessee and Alabama and all these good teams. You are playing Michigan State on a neutral, then you fly to Gonzaga, then you fly across the world to play Michigan, then you play UCLA, and you play Kansas. So that is an incredible schedule for Kentucky. And then there is the Gonzaga side of things. They open with that game on a aircraft carrier against Michigan State. Yes, Gonzaga is playing against Michigan State on an aircraft carrier. We're bringing it back, baby. That is one of the opening games of the college basketball season as Gonzaga and Michigan State play in San Diego. Frankly, it's a game that I might try to get to because it's only about 2 hours from where I live. So that is Veterans Day, November 11th. 9 days later, they play Kentucky at home. They also play Alabama in Birmingham. That is the part of a pseudo home and home. Remember, they played Alabama and Seattle last year. Go back and play Birmingham. And then on top of that, they also play Texas on the road. And they play in the PK 85 tournament, which is the one that honors Phil Knight. So 5 years ago, they had the PK 80. This year, they have the PK 85 over Thanksgiving. And we got the matchups for that. So Gonzaga is in a bracket that includes, how about this, Duke, Florida, Purdue, West Virginia, and Xavier. Remember, Xavier has Sean Miller now. Florida has Todd Golden now. And, of course, Duke is Duke. In the other bracket, you have Alabama, Michigan State, North Carolina, Oregon, UConn, and Villanova. So just insanely, just listen to those games. Just listen to those games. You have Kentucky playing Michigan State on a neutral, Michigan on a neutral, at Gonzaga, at Louisville, UCLA on a neutral, and also you're playing on top of that, you're then playing Kansas at home. Gonzaga is playing Alabama in the state of Alabama, Michigan State on a neutral, the PK 85, Kentucky at home, and also Texas on the road. So credit to both coaches for making this happen. Obviously, it was surrounded by a good cause, and it is going to be a great matchup. Oscar Tshiebwe versus Drew Timme, Gonzaga versus Kentucky. The one thing I will enjoy is this, is that when Gonzaga gets a potential number one seed in the NCAA tournament, at least Kentucky fans can't say they didn't play anybody this year. So Gonzaga, how about that? Kentucky home and home with Gonzaga. Credit to both coaches for making this happen. I'll say this too. Credit to John Calipari for being willing to go to Spokane this year, which is obviously going to be a brutal environment, but it will only get them ready for SEC play. Really quickly, let's get to a couple other news and notes. By the way, I mentioned the PK80. The Maui Invitational field was not only announced, but we got matchups in Maui. And you talk about a loaded early season tournament, Maui is it. So here are the matchups, and then I'll break them down individually, and we'll get out of here with some recruiting news. Texas Tech versus Creighton, which doesn't sound great on paper, but I'm going to tell you why it is. Louisville versus Arkansas, San Diego State versus Ohio State, Arizona versus Cincinnati. So off the top of my head, there are 4 teams in my preseason top 25, Creighton, Arkansas, San Diego State, and Arizona. Ohio State and Texas Tech were on the fringes. I think you can argue 6 of the top 30 teams in college basketball this coming season are in this event. Creighton, we've talked about them. They are a preseason top 5 team. They are a team that made a run to the Big East championship game. They are a team that made a run to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Easily could have beaten Kansas, the defending champion, without 2 starters. Well, now they get everybody back. They get 4 of their 5 starters back, including Arthur Kaluma, who I believe is a potential first-round pick. Ryan Kalkbrenner, probably the best center in the Big East. Sorry, Adama Sanogo, it's true. Ryan Nembhard, Andrew Nembhard's brother at point guard. This is a top 5 team coming in. Texas Tech really did a good job in the transfer portal. Fardaz Amik, who was the second leading scorer in college basketball last year behind Oscar Tshiebwe, he is coming in. Davion Harmon, who was at Oregon last year, is coming in, plus a couple nice returnees. The highest rated recruit in the history of the program. Not a bad little roster that Mark Adams has put together. I think those are 2 of the top 30 teams, if not 2 teams that are definitely going to be in the NCAA tournament. Louisville, Arkansas. I'll be honest, this one looks a little bit better on paper than it probably is in actuality. Louisville is going to really struggle this year. I like Kenny Payne. I think he's the right guy, but they were not able to do in the portal what they need to. We know how loaded Arkansas is. You really don't need me to tell you. 3 McDonald's All-Americans, Nick Smith Jr., who I think might be the number 1 pick in next year's draft, Jordan Walsh and Anthony Black, a guy that Coach Muss has kind of raved about in his media availabilities. 6 top 100 prospects overall, plus a loaded transfer portal class. For those of you who do want to see Arkansas, by the way, foreign tour starting next week that is available for purchase on Flow Sports. Yeah, I'm going to spend the $9.99 or whatever it costs. It's going to be worth it for me. Arkansas loaded. San Diego State actually very loaded as well. They lost to Creighton in round 1. They bring back most of their key pieces. They were the number 1 defensive team in some metrics in college basketball last year, I think they're a dark horse Final Four team. And then finally, our first look at the new look Arizona Wildcats. Really excited about this team. 3 starters back from last year's Elite 8 or Sweet 16 team, number 1 seed. Kirk Risa, the point guard. Zulis Tubelis, the power forward. I guess Umar Balo was not a starter. He was probably their 6th man, but he'll be back at center. Also, I thought they did a good job in the transfer portal. Courtney Ramey from Texas, I think, is a really, really, really good player. Added Cedric Henderson as well from the mid-major ranks. Really excited to see this team. And Cincinnati, rebuilding under Wes Miller, but they're going to be much improved next year. Just a loaded Maui Invitational field. I'm not even going to start to speculate, but what I will tell you, if we get Arkansas Creighton in round 2, that's going to be amongst the best early season college basketball games of